Hello there. Today is a great day to look at some of the container plants. I don't know about you, but I use containers for various reasons. So a lot of it has to do with practicality. Sometimes I'm experimenting. Sometimes plants just, in my experience, just do better in containers, some plants that is. And also, sometimes I don't know where to put plants in the ground yet, so it's more of, placing it here, placing it there, just to see what works first. And sometimes I just like that plant to be in the container. And selfishly, some of them, like one of the Japanese maples, if I ever moved, I would like to take it with me. So maybe you're thinking the same thing. If I left anything out, I will put it on the screen. So please let me know why you have plants in containers. Anyway, let's take a look at some of them. I don't think I'll be able to, cover every single container plant. We'll show you groups of container plants. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So these containers were on the porch during the winter. Just brought them out, I would say maybe after our last frost date. Maybe a good, like in April sometime. So anyway, these are doing great, and these guys are in complete full sun later. So you can see the sun is right here right now. I think it's about 10 o'clock, so it will get at least 6 hours of direct sunlight. Look at all the little babies. That's exciting, right? So I do not do anything to this, including fertilizing, which I know that it will appreciate a little bit of fertilizer. I just need to find the right succulent fertilizer. So have not done that. I'm trying to figure out why these do so well in completely direct hot sun here. The only thing that I could come up with is the fact that there is gravel in the container, and that really helps to retain moisture. Let's come to a more shadier one. So because there's gravel, the soil stays more moist, so it's not completely dry. And then the top part, of course, they get the sun that they need. So that's the only thing that I could think of why they are doing so well. Look at this one. I just think they're so neat. I love succulent plants. These containers are giving me the motivation to put more in. They could take a lot of low temps. I think -30, -40. So because I knew that fact, I knew that they would do well on the porch. The only thing that was preventing it from doing well in previous years in the ground, my thinking is that our winters would be so wet. So it does not like a lot of moisture and a lot of wetness. I would say if you would like to grow succulents and you're in the same growing zone, same growing condition as me, just know that your hens and chicks can do well in full sun. You just need to provide some moisture with the gravel. I think the gravel is the key here, and some nice fertilizer specifically for it would be good too. So I just need to do that. Here's another one, and here is the other one. This is a different species, which I do not have the tag anymore. anyway, these are reddish purple in color. And I mixed the other one here too, the other color. So they're all doing great coming out of winter. This is my favorite grouping of containers. Let's look at this from afar. So we have Thriller, and the fern is acting more like a spiller plant. A little bit of spilling out from there too. That's gold tip holly. The filling of those other plants, cocktail, gin, begonia. It's beautiful. It's gotten so much bigger. And we got the bleeding heart blooming right now. I believe it's called Dicentra, right? So we got two hearts, just two hearts this year, but still beautiful. And we got our Hosta First Frost here. Do not know what this fern is. If you do know, please let me know. This is what it looks like. Wanted to point out that this container is in full sun. You can see the sun is showing up right now, and it's morning sun. Later on we will get afternoon sun like all the hostas that were mentioned in a previous video, with 4 to 5 hours of direct sunlight in the evening. So, and these plants are more shade loving plants, but they do really well here. The reason for that is because I have planted densely. So the plants I know are providing moisture. You know, together they provide moisture and they kind of help each other out. And then also, this will cast some shadow at some point. The fencing will cast some shadow at some point. And this Japanese maple does offer some protection as well. The sun is coming from that direction, so it's not, the Japanese maple is not helping to shade it in that respect. But by it being here, it does provide some moisture, some protection, because they're all together like that. And I'm hoping that by next year or the year after, future years, we're just gonna have this expanding to here, and we're gonna finally have this container. That container will get more shade later on and more protection. So that's a tip for you, that if you put a whole bunch of plants together, they will help each other to retain that moisture. I don't know what the exact mechanism is, but I know that they do help each other. And just have some taller thriller plants around, they help to cast some shadow at some point. Even the hardscape in the background there will help to cast some shadow. And also wanted to mention the coleus is doing good. I think this coleus can use a little bit more sun. This one does get some shade from the Japanese maple and this gold tip holly. Might move it to here and see, and look at the babies. They're getting some size as well. And there's a weed. Let me see. That one is getting bigger too. This is new to me. I had no idea that this produces flowers. Maybe it did in previous years, but it was at a spot where it was out of sight, out of mind. So this year I just noticed that you can see the buds and some tiny flowers. I want to make sure I say this right. No, it's Touch of Gold. I don't know what I said earlier. So Touch of Gold holly. This one I mentioned in the past, it becomes more yellow or more golden color when it gets more sun. So as we are heading into the summer, it's going to get more yellow. And here's another container with Gara. I just made it simple. Looking forward to seeing it bloom. It's, of course, getting bigger. So I have no plans of putting other plants in here just because I just don't want to this year. So let's look at this whole grouping of containers. Now here's the thing. I know that you can play with the containers. I basically have the same shape of containers, so you can see that's not good. You want smaller size, like different shapes, things like that to just make it more interesting. So I was not thinking about that at all. This is just practicality. I just needed a container to put that in that's deep enough because Gara has a taproot, and that was the only container that I found at the time with soil. So was not thinking about design or anything like that. Just wanted them to have a place to grow, and that's it. Maybe in the future I'll think about that, but for now, for practicality purposes. Now let's look at our hanging baskets. I don't do a lot of hanging baskets. These were just hung here because, well, they came in as hanging containers, hanging baskets, so I just thought I would put them here. I don't really per se have hanging basket locations, and where there are hooks, it's just hard to water. They're so tall, high, they're taller, and an area where I really, can't get to watering. So that's another good tip. Try to have your containers close to the water source, so that way it's in eyesight, and it's easy for you to see, easier for you to water. That is Christmas cactus. This hanging basket with different color calibrachoas. And then this is our last hanging basket. This is fuchsia species that was overwintered in the garage. I did not think that it would come back. I was experimenting with it, and look at it now. It is leggy, and it was just, everything died back, basically. And these were just the growth from here. So these are more like your suckers. Anyway, they're just simple. These are just here for experimenting and for practicality sakes, to just have them close to the water source too. So a good tip, I don't know if you noticed already, the pool noodles, we use these guys on our spigots during the winter to protect our spigots. So I thought during this time of the year, I could use this to protect the Japanese maple from the branches from getting damaged. So that is a good tip for you if you would like to do the same thing. So, and that one I do not have it because it's a lightweight container. These two containers are heavier, and because of that, they're going to weigh the branch down, and this hanging plastic thing could produce some damage to the Japanese maple. So for our last grouping of containers, they are in the back garden area. So let's look at this grouping first at the woodland garden, and we have both edibles and ornamentals to show you. All right, I've always wanted to show this where I'm coming to this area and you see some planting over here. So anyway, let's visit some of these. All the ornamental container plants have been placed here due to practicality purposes. They needed to be here, not necessarily needed to be here, but they needed to be in a spot where they're not going to get baked by our direct sun exposure, even though these are all full sun conifers. So let's look at this one. This is Carolina Sapphire Cypress. It used to be over there somewhere. I decided to move it here. I did move it closer to the transplanted Japanese maple, and still it was struggling. So I was like, okay, let me just move this over here as well. And I really can't tell if it's doing better. I can see that there's new growth, so maybe that's a good sign. So yeah, I think this plant just wants to be out in the wild, in the ground, because it grows really tall. And of course, I want it to be a topiary. Japanese emerald spreading yew. And it is doing so much better. It used to be in the front and it would drop, it was dropping leaves before it was transplanted here. So like all of this space right here was just a lot of dead foliage. So you can see it is filling in really nicely. These are all new growth, all new growth. So I think it likes this location better, but I do see that it does get some lighting, direct lighting as well. Maybe 3 to 4 hours in the afternoon, and it's getting some dapple sun right now, which I don't think it minds at all. Maybe when during the summer, for example, it might not like it as much. So it might need to be moved one more time into a shadier location. But I do think that this plant likes the shade a lot better. You can tell that this is mostly probably is getting what it needs. And look at how dense and beautiful the foliage is. So this is what you would expect. So I'm hoping that we're gonna get dense growth later on over here. This is Feline Blue Deodar Cedar. I can't tell if it likes this location better or not, but I appreciate it being here because I think it should prefer this location a lot better. We see new growth, but we also see, you know, there's some dead spots as well. I don't know if that's a thing because it's a spreading plant, because look at this. The tips, they're growing nicely. It's just bare spots in the center. So I visited a public garden and their deodar cedar looks pretty much like mine here. So maybe that's just the way it is. Maybe it likes it better in the ground, which a lot of plants do like it better in the ground. They did have theirs in containers as well. Let's look at the edibles. So this is hardy banana. It used to be right there. Had to move it again because it was getting more leaf scorch right here, even though I would think that it likes full sun. Apparently it does not like full sun in my environment here. And I know, actually I've seen this plant in full sun in other people's gardens around here. I think it wants to be in the ground. The ones that I've seen around my town here, they're all in the ground. So I know that it wants to be in the ground, but I won't allow it to be in the ground. Look at the nice new growth, new foliage here. See, there's already a little bit of damage right there. Variegated pink lemon. You see that 6+ hours of direct sunlight. I can tell you that it does not do well in 6+ hours of direct sunlight here. it is putting on new growth and it is loving this spot. Look at all that. I don't think I've ever seen so many buds coming up. It looked like it had spider mites too. So I think it's doing so much better now. I've just been monitoring it and then just spraying anything I see with water. So it doesn't look bad at all right now. It's actually more beautiful and more filled in. All of these containers have been put here just for practicality purposes and a little bit of experimenting too. So you're not gonna see it looking, you know, like design-wise, not gonna look aesthetically pleasing. All right, so this is kaffir lime. So this lime, we do use the foliage for cooking, not the fruits. You can ferment the fruits and use it for medicine. Anyway, every year I struggle with this. So last year was the first year that I didn't have to deal with spider mites. So I'm hoping this location will be better for it and it will be a lot healthier, so we wouldn't have to worry about spider mites. So far it's not doing bad at all. It's flushing back. For a minute there I was scared that it didn't come back, that it would not come back. And you can see this plant used to be so much taller, and our past winters have been pretty harsh. That should tell you that it can get cold in the garage, and your lemon or lime trees might not like that very much, although that is more hardy, I can say that. Now let's look at the containers of taro, which were planted, I think, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So they are not doing bad. I was expecting them to be a lot faster, but they're not. They're taking their time. A viewer suggested I should only put one plant per container, which I have done with a lot of them. This one, I wasn't sure if this was gonna come up or these two were gonna come up or not. So this is more of an experimentation container. Any of them that have more than one plant is more of an experiment. Look at this one. The original leaf died back. I guess it didn't like to be transplanted. And these are the new leaves. All right, let us go to the full sun container plants. So we're at the back patio, which I complain a lot how hot it is. It's so hot right now. Our Japanese maple that was transplanted, I think maybe a couple months ago. So it is doing very well, I would say. So I don't see really any brown tips. I do keep all these containers watered on a regular basis so they never go dry. And that really helps. I think that is key. Now let's look at the ginger. Look at how well they have grown. Aren't they beautiful? Now eventually I need to move these to a shadier location because I think especially these guys are getting too much sun in they're gonna get too much sun in the summer. Right now they're not doing bad at all, but these guys, I can see that they're doing fine. Maybe I can put this over there where that container is. I'm not sure. Anyway, well, I just know that they need to be moved when the leaves are, you know, not looking good. So again, the key to keeping these containers doing well would be to stay on top of watering. So I keep it moist at at all times. So even in the shade of the canopy of the umbrella, it's still hot. There's a bird that's been flying. I think there's a nest in this pencil holly here. Yeah, I hope that you were able to get some ideas from what you have seen. It could be a negative thing, it could be a positive thing. You could look at what I have and say to yourself, that's something that I would like to try, or that is something that is not gonna work. And I'm glad that she did it so I could see that it doesn't work. So yeah, hopefully you got some ideas, good and bad, or good or bad. So if you have any questions or comments, please write in the comment section down below. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Terry. And if you are a returning viewer, thank you. Thank you for coming back. So with that, thank you so much again for watching this video. And until the next one, I hope you take care. Bye for now.